All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to talk about the debate. We had a pretty interesting debate last night. I mean, there were some tense moments. Nothing too crazy, but there could have been some points scored in the polls. But overall, the debate won't come down to that. But we will get you everything you need to know about the debate today. Who roasted who held their own, and who kind of just stayed really where they were. I'll get you all the recap on that for you today. Some interesting stuff for sure to talk about. My name is Spencer Walsh, and we're going to get right into it. So yeah, I mean, either way, the polls show right now a highly competitive primary race and no clear frontrunner, so the Democrats who won this debate acted as if they'd decided ahead of time to avoid taking risks or doing much of anything that might cause them to lose momentum at this stage of the campaign. So it was largely not one that was kind of a firecracker, nothing too crazy going on for sure. It wasn't flashy, it was not memorable, but it was revealing. So, yeah. And for much of the night, the showdown in Atlanta felt more like a candidate forum than a two clash of visions. And I think that largely had to do with the moderation. Because, I mean, not only, because they did a really kind of good job of encouraging or keeping away craziness out of the headlines. Because what they would do is, at least when I was watching, it felt like they would always go to the three on either far side, which are the six least popular candidates who, I believe, like 2 days ago, I was like, it would be cool if they weren't on the stage anymore. I mean, I'd rather really not hear from them. But boy, did they go to them a lot. And that, like, people like Andrew Yang, people like Tom Steyer, like, it felt like in the beginning of the debate and the end of the debate, Tom Steyer was on the stage, or on my screen, on my television screen, for a good portion of time. Like, he's been, I mean, he wasn't on there for that crazy amount of time, but the fact that he kind of got more speaking time than Andrew Yang is a little disappointing. But that's kind of the reality of the situation. But I mean, they just really kind of went to the most boring issues. They started talking about things that really Democrats can all agree on. Like, there's no daylight in between the people in the party on most of the issues that the moderators brought up, and they went to probably the most boring candidates talking about them. No one was sparring the same way. Pete and Elizabeth weren't going back and forth on their key issues. I mean, so it's very interesting. I mean, they disagree politely with one another and agree repeatedly about the menace of President Trump, and they really it really shows that we're not at the point where we're really starting to throw hands, because there is still so much dead weight in this primary. And I really think if you're at this point, the DNC has to probably figure out how to trim the crop a little bit, and not make the fact that there's more Democrats coming into the race. Like, that's not the direction that we want to be going in. Yeah, I mean, people like Andrew Yang, he was just like, I want to stick up for Tom. Who said the businessman Andrew Yang to the billionaire Tom Steyer? Thanks, Andrew, Steyer replied. And yeah, there was some pretty interesting confrontations, though. So, for example, Tulsi Gabbard sparred aggressively with Senator Kamala Harris and Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, generating 2 to 3 most tweeted moments of the debate. I could probably guess what the third one was, or Joe Biden really kind of awkwardly forgetting, or kind of making like a little bit of a word slip about Kamala Harris. But yeah, Tulsi Gabbard, I think she probably had the most firecracker moments of the debate. I hesitate to say that she really won the debate, but boy, was she she was something. She was not nearly as confrontational last debate, but boy, was she was just kind of going crazy. I do want to see if I can find some sort of clip for you about this, because she really does not have any kind of it just really does not have any kind of bridges to burn, because like I think he knows that he's not going to win the she knows that she's not going to win the primary, and she knows that it's going to be pretty much at this point a kind of a race to just say what you really feel, like not holding back. That's for damn sure. Like that's the really like that's kind of really the truth of the matter. Like all her bridges are pretty much burnt at this point, and she is really interesting in the way she kind of just keeps going after people. Kamala going really after Tulsi Gabbard. Most heated Democratic debate. All right, let's go from Tulsi's. This is off Tulsi's page here, talking about her most heated moments. I
have a lot of respect for the vice president. He has sworn me into my office as a hero. This week, I hear him literally say that I don't think we should legalize marijuana. I thought you might have been high when you said it. And let me tell you, because
that was that's probably the other one. That's probably the other one.
Marijuana in our country is already legal for privileged people, and the war on drugs has been a war on black and brown people.
If you notice, I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus, the only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate, a whole range of people.
No,
my point is
that's not true. The other one is here.
Yeah, he meant to say the only there. He meant to say the first, not the only there. Still kind of living in the past a little bit. That was probably the third most tweeted moment of the debate. Now that I remember.
First African-American elected. First African. So my point is.
But I want to get back to Pete Buttigieg and his comment about experience. Pete, you'll agree that the service that we both have provided to our country as veterans by itself does not qualify us to serve as commander-in-chief. I think the most recent example of your inexperience in national security and foreign policy came from your recent careless statement about how you as president would be willing to send our troops to Mexico to fight the cartels.
Again, this is interesting. Listen very, very carefully to the way she phrased this here. That was something that is very... It's going to be subject for debate here.
As Commander-in-Chief, leader of our armed forces, I bring extensive experience serving for 7 years in Congress, on the Foreign Affairs Committee, on the Armed Services Committee, on the Homeland Security Committee, meeting with leaders of countries around the world, working with military commanders of different commands, dealing with high-level national security briefings, understanding what's necessary, the preparation that I've gotten to walk in on day one to serve as Commander-in-Chief.
Congresswoman, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll allow you to respond.
I know that it's par for the course in Washington to take remarks out of context, but that is outlandish even by the standards of today's politics.
Are you saying that you didn't say that?
I was talking about U.S.-Mexico cooperation. We've been doing security cooperation with Mexico for years, with law enforcement cooperation and a military relationship that could continue to be developed with training relationships.
Okay, literally one of the things that we've never, ever done is send troops into Mexico to fight cartels, which is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And, like, that's really something that we have never done before. We've never sent boots on the ground into Mexico to fight cartels. And he literally goes on to make an incredibly disingenuous comment about what Tulsi Gabbard said here. And I think this was really kind of a moment where, like, Tulsi Gabbard won both this exchange and exchange she had a little bit earlier in the debate with Kamala Harris, because she just she knew what she was saying. She kept her cool. She kept hammering the point home. And Gabbard was like, sorry, not Gabbard, but Buttigieg and Harris were both like, you met with Assad, but you met with someone who's opposed to our interests, someone who's a very bad guy. Like that's all they could say in real and substantive response.
For example, do you seriously think anybody on this stage is proposing invading Mexico?
That's not
I'm
what
talking
I said.
about building up. I'm talking about building up alliances. And if your question is about experience, let's also talk about judgment. One of the foreign leaders you mentioned meeting was Bashar al-Assad. I have, in my experience, such as it is, whether you think it counts or not, since it wasn't accumulated in Washington, enough judgment.
Again, one of the most disingenuous lines that he tried to take later in the debate was pretty much just saying that, oh, my experience, it's not accrued in Washington, so that's why I'm a real outsider. Like, please, it's like Andrew Yang is an outsider in this debate. Like, he is someone who is not going to meetings with Nancy Pelosi talking about how he wants to stop Bernie Sanders. He's not doing that. Bernie Sanders is an outsider in this debate. Every single person in the Democratic establishment is peeing their pants, horrified of him. You could argue Elizabeth Warren the same thing. But not somebody who is a Rhodes Scholar. Not somebody who served in pretty much an offshoot of the CIA and McKinsey. Not someone who pretty much went to go to war pretty much so he could become president. Like, every step this guy has taken in his entire life has been to get to president. Like that's just been the reality of the situation. How do you think that somebody goes from mayor of a town where he pretty much fails epically? There's massive problems in South Bend. I wouldn't say he failed epically, but he didn't do a good job in South Bend. There's just no disputing that if you look at the state the city is in now. Like, how do you go from mayor of a town where you get 8,000 votes? 8,000 votes. Again, in a country of where the winner got like 66 million. Like, how do you go from a mayor of South Bend to a completely, like, a guy who's a front runner in the Democratic primary to defeat President Trump? Like, it's not by being an outsider. I got news for you. It's just not. It's not by being an outsider. It's not like trying to push. It's not like you're just working hard. It's not like you're just doing the things you do. Like, you have connections, and it's from your previous points in your career. It's just the reality of the situation. It's just the reality of the situation. Like, why isn't Wayne Messam on everyone's lips? Like, he's the mayor of Miramar, Florida, which is a pretty similarly sized city. Probably did a better job handling the black community, at least. Like, why isn't he on the debate stage? Like, I don't know. Maybe because he didn't work for McKinsey. Why? Maybe because he's not a Harvard Rhodes Scholar. Maybe because he's not deeply, deeply tied to the establishment. Because he's attending meetings to, quote, stop Bernie Sanders, unquote. Like, look it up. He did that. He really did that. I'm kind of surprised Bernie Sanders didn't bring it up more often. Maybe he hasn't read the article. But, yeah, it was in the New York Times. Like, legitimately. Anyway, so we're going to move on. If you were tuning into really this debate for the first time, it would be hard-pressed to see who exactly is the front runner in the 2020 primary. There really was no clear winner. Maybe could have been Joe Biden. Sure leads in all national polls, but few on stage seemed eager to challenge him, and others who have targeted him, Harrison June and Julian Castro, the former housing secretary, who did not qualify for this debate, have pretty much faded afterward. Senator Elizabeth Warren sure seemed to look like the front runner a month ago, but when she was the object of most of the attacks, but not on Wednesday. That's the thing. The top four candidates, Mr. Biden, Buttigieg, Sanders, and Warren, all spoke the most, but none of them suffered any none of them suffered against sustained incoming attacks. That's just the reality of the situation there, and it was pretty surprising to see. It felt like the middle three, especially early on to midway through in the debate, the middle three people just didn't get any. Like, they just didn't really get that much love at all. Yeah, hours before the debate, Biden's campaign had accidentally sent out a post-debate email that hinted of plans to take on Warren, but no such thing materialized on stage. Yeah, so this evening before the debate, Buttigieg's top advisor, Liz Smith, posted a GIF about the debate preparations of an onslaught of possible attacks to come.